Welcome to Relationship Mastery, a podcast for those who want to learn how to master the art of creating happy, healthy, and loving relationships. Please join me, Adey-Jones, and my co-host, Barry Selby, each Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific for a lively and informative conversation on everything to do with relationships. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us again. This is going to be part two of the subject we talked about last week, which was the relationship you have with yourself being the most important relationship you can have. So if you listened in, you will remember me flubbing at the end there where I couldn't remember what I was going to say. But as usual, I remember 5 minutes later. But let's just remind everybody about what it was that we ended on, which was Barry talking about some practices to improve the relationship you have with yourself. So Barry, why don't you just bring everybody up to date and
recap a little bit before that too, so people understand why I'm talking about this. What we talked about last week, and I'm not going to give you the whole thing, obviously, but just briefly, is how we spend a lot of time focusing on the other person in the relationship, like we talked about in codependency, rather than focusing on ourselves. And I've been adamant a lot, saying the relationship with yourself is the one you have for your whole life, and why not spend time focusing on that too? So what I recommended was to take some time every day, whether it's in the morning or the evening. Could be 5 minutes. It could be like if you go for a walk out the house, just to spend time with yourself, as in not with other people, just to nurture and to almost like fill up your own battery, so to speak. So it can be, whether you want to look in the mirror and look in your own eyes and just send love to yourself, or put your hand over your heart. I mean, it can be as simple as that, or it could be much more complicated, but just doing something that gives you a sense of value for yourself, especially if you've had a rough day. It can be something more elaborate, like having a bubble bath. But I'm talking about just simple things you can do just to reconnect with yourself before you go back into the relationship or into the world, or wherever that is. Does that summarize for you to jump in on now?
No, exactly. That was what you ended with, and I wanted to add something, and then I had a complete brain meltdown and couldn't remember what I was going to say. But
They do escape once in a while.
Exactly. Oh, and I do it all the time. I think I'm a little older than you. I'll blame it on COVID brain fog. Let's blame it on that, not
Sure,
age.
why not?
Long COVID. Yes. Okay. So what I wanted to say to add on to that is what, I teach from well, we were just talking about it. We've both done years and years of studying different spiritual modalities, and I've been on a spiritual path since I was 21, and I've lots and lots of different modalities, as well as our USM experience and our masters in spiritual psychology. But I came across an understanding called the principles, which really helped sort of encapsulate a lot of what I understood and what I teach from. But one of the big things that I really learned from this was that I didn't actually have to meditate anymore or take time out of my life to actually, connect with myself or any of that. And the reason being is that, you know, um, our feelings are actually our best friends. They really are. They are constantly alerting us to where we are, what we're thinking, and where we're placing our attention. So if I'm feeling sad or insecure or depressed or full of self-doubt or any of those things, which obviously plagued my life for the first 50 years, no matter how many spiritual understandings I knew. But if I was thinking that way, what I really see now is that I am listening to what I call my personal thinking. The thinking I have in my head, my human head has all these thoughts. So I always say that my feelings are my friends, because if I'm feeling a bit yucky because I'm listening to this negative chatter, as we talked about last week, it could have been, the chatter of hearing, like you said, with people bullying you, or in my case, the chatter of not feeling good enough because of my situation growing up without a father. But if I'm listening to that, I'm going to feel horrible. And so those feelings are alerting me to the fact that I'm paying attention to my personal thinking, which is full of self-doubt and recrimination, whatever's going on up there. And what it does is it's like an alarm, an internal alarm system that goes, Del, wake up. You're going in the wrong direction here. You're listening to that voice in your head. And immediately throughout the day, I go, oh, I'm up here again, and I laugh at it. I've got Britney Spears singing "Whoops, I Did It Again" in my head, so it's not a terrible thing. I don't beat myself up for it, but I wake up to the fact that I'm listening to my personal thinking, which is usually full of insecurity and fear and all those things, because that type of thinking does not come from what I call the essence of who I am. That spiritual nature that I am, mostly made of. It that Your spiritual self would never say terrible things to you. It would never put you down or tell you you're stupid or that you don't deserve this or anything like that. So, as I say, my feelings are my wonderful internal alarm system to say, you're believing BS, whatever you want to call it. It's not true. And I wake up and I drop back down into that beautiful place in my center. So I do that back and forth all day long, as everybody does. We're always, like we said last week, again, it's the aperture. My aperture closes and I listen to my negative personal thinking. My aperture opens and I go, oh, no, no, that's not true. That's not the truth of who I am. And we do that all day long. We just, we have a bad phone call or we get out of bed the wrong side of the bed in the morning or something. And so that is happening all day long. And just to know that, um, yeah, again, it's all I can say is you can do it all day long. You don't have to take time out. You don't have to meditate, and just notice, pay attention to what you're focusing on. Now, we can't stop those thoughts from popping in our head. We can never do that. That's just energy moving through us. But we do have the free will as to if we want to grab them and like munch on them a bit, and make a meal out of it, or we can just let it pass on its own accord, which they always do. We don't have to wrestle with them and push them to have them move on. We just know they're going to move through us, and just breathe and fall back into that beautiful space within where you know that you're equal to everybody else, you're worthy, and you have nothing to prove. You are not broken or damaged, and nothing to fix. So that was my last thought I wanted to share last week.
Now you've given me some things to think about too. So I want to add a little bit from my
Yeah.
perspective, because the thing you're talking about is wonderful, and I love the idea of being the watchman, so to speak, to watch over and notice those things when they happen. The
Hmm.
challenge for a lot of people, especially general people in the world, is, and I include myself in that because I've done it before in the past. I don't do it as much now because I also done my own path on the journey. Is that we sometimes forget we have dominion over our feelings, where we basically seem to live our lives in reaction to and be at the mercy of what we're feeling, without realizing we have dominion over that. So the biggest aha, perhaps for some people listening to this, is that we do have that, because what you're talking about, because you've had years of practice, and so have I, and my own practice too. We know better and we tend to do better. However, there are people out there who haven't maybe had the luxury, the opportunity, or the experience we've had over the last decades to really tune in and become aware of ourselves, so we can actually step aside from the stampede of emotions that show up once in a while and let it go by without taking it on ourselves. So the teaching here for everybody is what we're both saying is that when emotions show up in our lives, what we do with them is a choice. And for many of us, that wasn't a thing we were aware of before. So to
Hmm.
be aware that you have a choice of what you do with those emotions. Like, do you take them on automatically, or do you say, you know what, hang on a second? Because the thing is also, by the way, the other extreme, which is the Pollyanna approach, which is everything's fine, nothing's going to affect me. What we're talking about here, and what you said exactly, is any emotion that comes through, you have a choice of what to do with it. And then the question becomes, what do you choose? Because in a way, what you're saying, you choose for yourself to say, I'm not going to jump into that and feel the upset or the wounding or that pain. Or do you become the victim of it by saying, you know what, I'm going to take it on because it's just for the sake of other people or whatever that is, or because you're raised that way? Saying,
Yeah.
well, like you're saying, back on what I said before about being bullied, it was a very convincing time for me to believe I wasn't worthy, because I was being, pummeled, so to speak, by these other boys to make me think and feel like I wasn't up to their level. So I took it on personally. And so even when they weren't around, I carried that myself.
Hmm.
So I had to work through that and transform that to learn that wasn't the truth. And so if those people listening can get this on a shortcut and say, look, here's the truth. You're free to choose your decisions about emotions, about any of that stuff. Awesome. If you need help, one of us can help you with that.
Yeah. Well, again, I want to go back to the fact that I personally believe that we would never have been created with the capacity to have the range of emotions we have unless they were all completely appropriate. So I'm
Mhm.
very much for feeling my feelings,
Yeah.
fully aware that I am, because simply because I did a lot of training with, I don't know if you ever heard of Debbie Ford. She did Dark Side of the Light Chasers, and I did a couple of coaching programs with her and then trained under her. And she always used to say that, you know, putting ice cream on top of poop is not going to make the poop go away. It's like there's still going to be poop by the time you get down there. I don't think she
Oh,
said
yeah.
it quite as delicately as that, but anyway. So I am fully, fully for feeling your feelings. Don't
Mhm.
suppress them. They're not going to destroy you. Have your feelings, let it flow through. And again, having your feelings does not mean you attack other people or blame
Right.
other people for your feelings. You
Yeah.
have your feeling. You know it's not going to hurt you. It's just energy moving through you. Have your feeling. Let it, I call it up and out. So it's not a spiritual bypass, because I agree with you. We don't want to do the Pollyanna here. We don't want to do the I'm fine, everything's okay, and yet on the inside you're feeling terrible, or you're
Exactly.
suppressing emotions. Which the second you take your attention off them, they it's like a a ball, one of those beach balls under the water. As you're
Mhm.
holding it down, it's great. You can hold it down. The second you take your hands off it, it bounces up and
Yeah.
hits you in the face. So
Exactly.
we don't want that energy just pushed down inside us. We want it to move through us, and then we can, as you say, choose to respond, not react.
Yeah.
And but again, as I say, it for me it is it wasn't years of training. It was just simply realizing that every time I feel yucky, it's
Mhm.
just saying, it's that going, Dell, you're listening to your personal thinking. I don't even have to really analyze it or anything. It's like, oh yeah, I must be up here if I'm doing that. I'm listening to voices that are telling me I'm not good enough if I'm
Mhm.
feeling insecure. So it just is a little, as I say, it's one of those things throughout the day you can just go, oh, I'm here again. It's okay. No, never any, it's not something to strive for, that you spend more time in this spiritual place. It's like, no, I had somebody once said to me, I thought it was brilliant. They said, "There's plenty of time to be to be 100% spiritual when you're dead." So, meaning, let's embrace our humanity.
Right.
We
Absolutely.
are. That's what I say. We are spiritual and human rolled into one. You cannot separate the two out.
Mhm.
So enjoy your human frailties. Enjoy your human, like I did last week, falling flat on my face, forgetting what I was about to say. I built it up, and then I was like, "Oops!" Completely left my mind.
Happens. It happens. You
Yeah,
know.
but again, it's that it's just enjoying the journey, and again, enjoying noticing when you actually catch yourself listening to that internal negative voice. That's
Mhm.
I like it. Oh, great. I noticed this time. I'm not trying to get rid of it. I'm
The
just
key.
happy to
Yeah.
notice. Yes, exactly.
It is a matter of degrees, because the thing is, what we're talking about here is again, we've had practice, we've had learnt these skills, and we've become much more attuned to witness and notice those things. Someone's just beginning this, they may be like saying, "I'll never get there, I'll never get this." Like, no, no. Here's the thing: is if you can catch that moment when it happens, maybe better stop it, but maybe you catch it and go, "Oh, I know this is happening. Damn, it's happening. Okay, it's happening."
Yeah.
That's a first step. But the thing is, what happens is you notice what will you notice if you do this is as time goes by, you get more and more attuned so that you'll say, I can feel it about to happen. You get to
Hmm.
that point where you actually have dominion and then choose not to be overwhelmed by it. So this is a progression of skills. And so what you're speaking from, and same as I am, is we've had some practice now. So we know that there's a journey to get to this attune, so to speak. So you'll be more able to change your direction, which is the thing. And for me, the emotions absolutely um that spiritual bypass stuff is so tempting sometimes, just to
Oh,
sort of pretend it never happened.
we are
And
doing a whole show about that one.
yeah, I know. But the other thing is, someone because he says about being that we're in the human form and that human frailty. What just hit me, and I do a lot of what if perceptions, like what if this and what if that, conceptual discussions myself. And my thought is, if we are indeed spiritual beings in this human form, and as you said about your that person said to you, you can be very spiritual when you're dead. Well, we are, again, my belief, spiritual beings eternally. So before we will come into this physical form and after we leave the physical form, we're going to be spiritual. So why would we spend the whole time around the planet trying to be spiritual all the time?
Yeah,
We are
exactly.
expected to enjoy the human experience, as you said. So this is a chance. That's why relationships are so much fun, in a sense, because it's a chance to really explore things you may not be able to do when you're in the quote spiritual realm outside of this physical place. Now, again, this is my belief. You may not, those watching may not believe this, or listening rather. So to really get that being in the human form is a joy and exploration, an opportunity to play full out with emotions and connections and intimacy and relationship, because that's the gift of being part of the human. That's part of the gift of being in the human form. So enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I 100% agree. And, sometimes, you'll talk to people and they'll say, this is my last time on earth. I've reached. And I'm like, I have so much that I haven't achieved this lifetime because I just couldn't get it all in. I'm very happy to come back another time, and I'm going to do things I never had the guts to do this time. I'm thoroughly enjoy being alive. And yes, again, we're not denying that we're not spiritual beings, but we're not so hyper focused on being 100% spiritual and
Right.
ignoring our human part of us. And as you said, not just there's a reason we incarnated in the form of humans. There's just a reason for that. And to deny that and to not fully embrace it and be here, be here now, but to really fully be here and enjoy everything. Or not enjoy everything. Obviously, some things are hugely painful, but like we said last week, there's always a gift in it. Even the most painful times, there is a gift.
Right.
So to just fully embrace it is a better word, not fully enjoy it, but
Yeah.
embrace
And
everything that is occurring.
which was what, again, back to relationships. This is the whole reason for our podcast is relationships.
Mhm.
One of the joys of being in human form is to get a chance to play with another human form in relationship, whatever that is. And that's why for me relationships are such a gift and such an opportunity, because the chance to connect and to dive into the possibilities of what's available between two whole human beings, spiritual beings having a human experience, can be so magical. Some
Yeah.
people are going to look at a relationship almost like a business deal, where like find a partner and get married, have kids, settle down, do all that sort of stuff. And my philosophy, so to speak, or my worldview is, what if every person you interact with, whether it is romantic or not, is a spiritual connection, is a connection of the soul, a connection of the heart, that you can add value to somebody else's life and receive value from somebody else in your life, so that
Mm.
the relationships can be a wonderful addition, or I should say, wonderful expansion of what life is about in itself. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of this work.
Yeah,
For that.
yeah. And, there's so many points I could have jumped off into that one, and I keep thinking, "Oh, gotta save that for another show." It's a big conversation, but, it really is, and, I was thinking about often when we look at, and again, this is gonna be a separate show because we really have to talk about divorce or loss or when
Yeah.
we've, at the end of a relationship. But just very
Hmm.
briefly, if we can, one of the bringing up Debbie Ford again, I mean, one of the first, workshops I took with her, or trainings rather, was called A Spiritual Divorce. And,
Hmm.
and one of the parts, and we're gonna talk about this in the other show, but was really, there is no mistake. There's no regret when you see the gifts in what you had. And
Hmm.
I often say that, I'm not with my ex-husband anymore, but in many ways, he was, I personally believe that you can have a few soulmates. I don't think you just have to have one in a lifetime. But
Agree with you.
he was certainly a soulmate of mine, and he was one of my best teachers.
Hmm.
Absolutely my best teachers. And I don't say that facetiously. He mirrored back to me what I needed to grow and learn this time on earth, what I needed to work on. And so I'm eternally grateful for that, and genuinely so, besides my two beautiful sons. But it is like you said, our relationships are a mirror back to us. And I think if they're painful, there is there's a massive lesson in there to learn. And as we say, when we work on ourselves, um, often after a bad breakup, taking that time to be alone, to really look at what was being reflected back to you in that relationship that possibly, you were very hurt from. And then taking the time, don't move on too fast. Really take the time to see what it was that was so wounding to you, what it was showing you and where you needed to sort of see something differently about yourself.
Yeah.
Not I often don't use the word self-improvement or self-development, because my whole thing is that we are all created perfect just as we are. The only thing that happens is that personal thinking again starts clouding our judgment of who we really are. So what we need to do is look at that cloud, look at that thinking that is clouding as, where's my little snow globe again? I'm going to have to send you one, Barry. But again, it's that cloudy thinking. Who we are, the purity of who we are and our essence, these fabulous beings, not broken or damaged or anything. The purity of that is never gone away. We just don't see it when we're
Mhm.
listening to all that cloudy thinking. It's
Right.
obscuring what's going on. So again, it's that back to that using our relationships as an opportunity to always reflect back on our relationship with ourselves.
Yeah. There's one piece I want to put in there as well, because it was because I think it's where you and I perhaps have different perspectives, because you were talking about that. Well, I'll say what I'm thinking, to it adds to what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's funny, my mind's doing strange things today. Again, come through. But the thing that, oh, using personal development, you don't use those terms. I personally do use those terms, because what I feel like is, well, first of all, I want to say it this way. I said this before in a previous episode about how we're not born with user manuals, and our parents
Mhm.
don't have user manuals either. So when we're being raised by our parents, they don't necessarily have the best education of how to be the parent to lead us, guide us, and inspire us. Same as our teachers at school aren't necessarily that way.
Mhm.
So for me, personal development is another spoke of the wheel of tools and lessons we can learn to become more successful in different areas of our lives, whether it is health or finances or money or career, whatever those things are. And sometimes it is a worthwhile investment to learn from people have walked a path further down the road than you have, to say, you know what, I don't know these things because I didn't get raised with that, but you can help me with this perhaps. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, most of our work, really, we are kind of in the personal development work, because we teach skills to help other people develop their own person, so to speak.
I'm
So
so glad you said that, Barry, because I said the wrong word.
just checking,
I Yeah, I no, I absolutely I what I maybe what I'm more because 100% I totally agree with it. We are both in the self-development, but I
thank you.
think the so I'm so glad you picked me up on that. I sometimes think there's, and I can't think of the exact word now, but maybe it's the self-improvement
Ah,
movement, or the
mhm,
you're broken and you need to be fixed movement.
right,
Because the suggestion being that in some of these things that, there's something wrong with us, there's something fundamentally wrong with us that we need to work on and fix. No, I 100% agree with you. I mean, I wouldn't be in business if I didn't think I was could help somebody. I can
right.
help I can help somebody see their own, innate wealth. I can help
Mhm.
somebody, as I say, not get caught up in that cloudy thinking that's telling them then they're less than or not good enough. I can certainly help point people in the right direction. But what I meant was more that we have to believe that at our core, we are beautiful, healthy, wonderful human beings. As I say, no less than, no better than anyone else, but certainly not fundamentally damaged and broken and too broken to ever have a healthy relationship. That's
Absolutely.
so absolutely not true. So I think we're very much on the same page there. So thank you for pulling me up on my.
You're very welcome. I was like, hang on a second. But the other thing also, on that piece also, and then, because again, as you said, we're not broken. We're not. There's nothing not wrong. We are
Mhm,
maybe not able to see things clearly. I'm in a
exactly.
program right now, I'm working from a coach, and her feedback to me let me see something in a new light that I hadn't seen before. Because one of the gifts of being a coach for somebody else is that we have a better sight of that person from the outside than they maybe can from the inside, and at the same time, myself being a coach, an expert and a leader too, I'm always looking to people who can help me see myself better as well. So that, and I know there's the best coaches have coaches. There's a reason for that. Is
Yeah,
that we can always be a student and learning from somebody else who has something that we haven't learned yet, or so they can see us better than we can see ourselves. So we can go, oh, now I can see better. Thank you. I can shift that perspective or change that belief system, because I now go, hang on a second, I fell into perception that wasn't accurate. This helps me see more clearly. So
Yeah.
definitely the great thing about this work is that we're always learning from each other, whether it's informally out in the world or from watching videos, or if actually working directly with somebody who can guide us one-on-one or in a group setting. So this
Mm.
work, that's one reason I've been in this work for so many years, is because there's always great value in seeing myself more clearly than I maybe did before. That's one
Yeah.
of the gifts we give.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I 100%. We all have coaches. I think I think what is the saying? It's something like it's always easier to see the picture when you're not in it.
Oh,
Meaning,
yeah.
like,
Hmm.
if you're in the, if it's like, it's like it's harder to see yourself when you're in the picture. Or if you can sort of have somebody that's standing outside the picture and is observing you, and they can give you feedback that is helpful, like you say, if there's things that you're traps you're falling into. I mean, going back to that conversation we just had about the self-development, you know,
Hmm.
I mean, my God, I mean, I was blind for the first 50 years of my life. I was completely blind as to who I was. I
Hmm.
was blind to the fact that I was listening to made up thinking about myself. It wasn't the truth of who I was. I mean, I was blind to so much. So, no, I am 100%. And I've been in therapy and been coached. And since I was, since therapy, I was in for close to 30 years. I was such a mess. And I really credit that so much. I mean, my wonderful therapist, if anybody's listening out there, um, Dr. Al Luddington was just amazing and helped me so much. But it was that combination of the spiritual understanding plus excellent therapy that really
Yeah.
helped me recover. So yes, 100%. I meet people all the time that are as lost as I was, living very painful, miserable lives. And I wish I'd had me when I was younger to help me not waste all those years. So yes, 100%. We are in the self-development business.
And the truth is that it is because we've learned through our own lessons and know the value of this. We help other people.
Yeah.
We know from what we know from whence we speak, as the saying goes. So yeah,
Yes.
that's why we get to do
And
that together.
whence we came from,
Yes,
whence we
indeed.
come from. All right. Well, yeah, well,
Oh,
I'm so glad I remembered what I meant to finish off with last week. It's given us a lot more to mull over here.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
any last words, Barry?
No, I think we've covered it for now. I know we've got new topics brewing for the next couple of episodes, so I'm
I
looking forward to
know.
the next thing we approach. So thank you for joining us for this one, and definitely take what we said to heart. We've been there, we've done that, and we can help you.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, the last word I'll just say quickly is that, the relationship we have with ourselves, the healthier it is, the healthier our outer relationships are. So
Absolutely.
that is
Yeah,
something that we should be focusing on, not the other person.
indeed, indeed.
Oh, so I'll have a great week, Mary. I'll see you next week.
Take care of yourself. See you next
And you.
week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. We trust you enjoyed this episode and invite you to share this with your friends and loved ones. In fact, please subscribe to our Relationship Mastery podcast. That way you'll get each new episode fresh and shiny as soon as it is released. We'd love to hear from you as well. So go ahead and enter your questions and comments at relationshipmastery.show. Take good care. We will connect with you in our next episode of Relationship Mastery.